turn it on, so I don't know how to.
Yay! Hi, you guys.
Good morning. We can't wait to see your show.
Oh, good morning. Well, welcome. Welcome to Organize Your Financial Life. I am Dana Cooney.
I'm Rick Ballou, and I'm going to just be hanging out and back. Have fun.
Yay. And I'm Stacy Klein. We're with Global GEG and GEG SoCal, and I'm a teacher in the Santa Ana Unified School District, and I can't wait to learn more about financial literacy from the amazing Dana Cooney. Yay. Rick and I are in StreamYard in the back, so if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them in the chat. Go, Dana!
All right. Well, I am a computer science teacher in Clark County, Nevada, and at Silverado High School. I am also a Google certified educator and trainer. I'm a GEG leader. I'm a Girl Scout leader. I'm a Girls Who Code leader. And it's funny because all of them start with G. I am here today. Actually, I was inspired by one of my co-leaders of GEG Nevada, Mimi Laughlin. She does this thing at our monthly meeting where every month we feature a passion project, because we all know we're passionate about education, but what else are we passionate about? So what we do is we take one of our passions and use ed tech to help us with our passions. So I did hiking with Tour Creator a couple of weeks ago, and as you guys know, Tour Creator is going bye-bye, so I'm feeling a little sad about that. But today I want to present one of my other passions with you guys, which is budgeting and personal finance. I know it sounds really dorky, but it really is kind of cool. So I hope you guys enjoy this. So we are going to start today with a question. And the question is, what are your priorities? So I want you guys to take a minute to think about what your priorities are, maybe your top 3 or 4. You can either drop them in the chat or you can just think about them for a minute. And I want to see what's important to you. Stacy, do you want to jump on and add?
Oh, yes. For in our life, my husband and I are long distance cyclists, so it's really essential that we have access to travel. So this has been a really weird year because of the pandemic, and we happily have huddled at home. But travel, being able to afford travel, and owning your own home is a big deal. Oh, and I totally forgot, we also have a sailboat. So those are kind of our 3 big things. And then our beautiful nephews. We like to spoil our family.
So I kind of did want to put you on the spot a little bit. After I'm done here, I want you to start thinking about what your passion project is going to be.
Ooh,
so
good.
How are you going to take one of those passions and exemplify it with EdTech?
You betcha. And I've got a really big, we have a wonderful blog and a wonderful YouTube channel. So we're working on that. So I'll share some of that at the end, but yay.
Excellent. Okay, so now I want to give you the definition of what a priority is. A priority is what we spend our limited resources on. Our time, our money, and our energy. So now that I gave you the definition, does that actually change some of your priorities? Because I'd like to think that working out at the gym is a priority of mine, but I don't spend money on a gym membership, and I definitely don't make time to do it. So whether I like to think it's a priority or not, it's kind of not. There's actually a great quote by James Frick. Don't tell me where your priorities are, show me where you spend your money, and I'll tell you what they are. So we need to think about priorities as what we're spending our limited resources on. And your budget, that's what we're focusing on today, is nothing more than a roadmap to your priorities. So your money should follow what you find important. Okay, so we had a little problem here. I wanted to show this awesome Saturday Night Live clip. It's called Don't buy stuff you cannot afford. And I've shown it. I used to teach personal finance for years and years. I'd always show this clip. We're a little worried about copyright and stuff, so we're not going to show it. But we've dropped the link in the chat, and I totally want you guys to watch it because it is hilarious. And my students, I loved it because a lot of the things we talked about in personal finance, they couldn't connect with, but this video, they got. So it was great. So please watch that when you have time. Okay, so why should we make finances a priority? Well, here are some very disturbing facts that are research-based. 20% of Americans don't save any of their annual income at all. And even those who do save aren't putting away a lot. Over 40% of Americans have less than $10,000 saved for when they retire. 56% of millennials don't have any money saved in a retirement account. The numbers were only a little less bleak for older generations. 39% of both baby boomers and Gen Xers have nothing put away for their golden years. 2/3 of Americans would struggle to scrounge up $1,000 in an emergency. The average American saves less than 5% of the disposable income. And in MarketWatch, they found that half of American households live paycheck to paycheck. Now, these are all American statistics because those were easier for me to find. But I would venture to guess if we went to the UK or France, we would find some of these things over and over again. So I don't know if we have anyone here from that can comment on other places. Are these the same kind of things you're seeing in other countries besides the US? And something we've actually brought to the forefront, which is so important, is the mental health. And debt has serious negative consequences on our mental health. I've been through all these feelings, and this is a journey that I've been on with my emotional or my finances. And it came to a head when I was 30 years old. I was sitting across the table from a man who would be my husband, and we had to have the DTR, the define the relationship talk. We were moving towards marriage, but he wanted me to put all my cards on the table. He wanted to know what my debts were, how much I owed, because I had $42,000 in student loan debt and $25,000 in credit card debt. And there was no way without him I was getting out of it because I was just making the payments. And it was so emotional. I went through all these feelings. I was embarrassed. I was depressed. I had anxiety. And he looked at me and said, Dana, how do I know that if I help you get out of this, you're not going to put us right back in this position? And I don't. So I had to make some decisions to make some better choices. And I'll tell you what, you guys, he paid off my credit card debt before we were married. I'm like, honey, that was not a good idea. He's like, well, if you had got up and left, it would probably been a lot cheaper than if you had stuck around. So we're still happily married 10 years later. We just had our 10-year wedding anniversary. And except for the mortgage, we are debt-free. A wise person should have money in their head, but not in their heart. So we're going to talk about actual steps because everybody talks about you should have a budget, you should have a budget, but they don't actually tell you how to do it. Or like it's a one-page info because budgeting is challenging. You need to do a lot. So I have a little planning doc. By the way, if you look at the information there, it's all fake. I just made it up for examples. We'll get there in a second. So open that doc, but I'm going to keep talking for a little bit before we head over there. The first thing we need to do is organize our passwords. Now, I use a password vault called LastPass because I just like to be uber safe. But according to PC Mag, as long as you're using a secure password and two-way authentication, a Google Sheet will suffice. And did you guys know that Google has a password manager already built in? And if you click this link right here, you can actually go there. And because I'm logged in, this goes to my account, and I can actually export all my usernames and passwords, and that's going to start helping me build my vault so I can get all my passwords aligned. But in addition to having that, I also make notes about all my accounts, especially if they're linked to one of my credit cards. For example, like I said, all this info is fake. You just delete it out and put your own, or get a password keeper. That's actually a better idea. But here's the account name, the account type. Is it a shopping account? Is it a finance account? Username and password. And then, do you have a credit card linked to it? We're going to be talking about this later, but this is really important information to have. I bet you can start thinking about the reasons why. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you have a credit card linked to that username and password, please make sure you have it listed right here. Or like if you're using LastPass, they have a place for notes to do that. I got a little video here. We're not going to watch it, but it's a little tips and tricks on how to make secure passwords. And this one, we actually do this one in a coding program in my coding class where I make the kids code an algorithm. So if they put in a website, their program will spit out a secure password. So an algorithm is just a list of steps. So it helps you remember your passwords because they're hard for a computer to guess, but easy for you to remember. So this one, take Google, for example. It says, take the first 3 letters of the website domain, GOO. Move 1 letter back for the first 2, NFO. Capitalize the 3rd letter. Add this, or whatever you would want. After those 3 things, or add a hashtag, count the number of letters in the domain name, Google wants 6, add a period, and count the letters in the .com or the .net. Usually be 3, but if you're in the UK, you actually have more variety. And so then you get a secure password. And if you remember these steps, you will always remember every single password. Still keep a password vault though. Money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant, according to B.T. Barnum. Okay, so the next step in getting your life financially organized is downloading your credit report. And there is only one actual website for downloading your credit report. I don't know how this works in some of the other countries. I'd really love to learn. But in the US, we have 3 credit reporting agencies. We have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And they are legally required to let you download 1 report a year. So you could do like 1 every 3 months. But I don't know if you guys are reading this little headliner here. During COVID, you can download your credit report once a week. Also, your credit report and your credit score are 2 different entities. They're 2 different companies. Obviously, they're related because if you're better with your credit report, your credit score is going to improve. And if you guys want to learn more about your credit score or improving your credit score, that's a whole different hour. Well, we could do that, but not today. Oh yeah, set a calendar reminder or an email reminder once a year to remind yourself to go download your credit report. In fact, we're going to get into this later, but you should also do that for things like shopping for car insurance once a year, or seeing if the internet company or the cable company are get to lower your bill. I'm all about yearly reminders. I'll get an email sometime in June. It'll be like, Dana, go shop for car insurance. Oh yeah, let me drag that over to my tasks. And then I get that done. So Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are the 3 credit reporting agencies. They are the official ones. If you find a discrepancy on your credit report, that's going to be a pain in the butt, but you're going to have to take care of it. That would take a whole nother hour to explain. If that happens, it's actually probably a good idea to hire someone who can be an advocate for you, because it's going to cost a lot of time and money to get those things fixed. That's why protecting your identity is so important. Okay, this is like the beginning of truly understanding your finances. List all of your reoccurring payments. So if we go to the planning doc here, I got another tab. Oh, sorry, we got garbage trucks coming by. This is just fake. This is just fake stuff. But we list every reoccurring payment we have about how much they are. When do they get taken out of the account? So this might not be exact because sometimes they get taken out on the 5th or the 6th, but knowing when you're going to pay those is going to be really helpful when we're budgeting. And how often? Like if it's yearly ones have to be thought about every month. You can't, if you have to pay your car insurance in one lump sum, you don't want to wait till that month because that's going to be too much money to spend. And also, how are they paid? Like my HOA is paid with the checking account, but the internet's paid with the credit card. I actually don't even have a MasterCard, but whatever. So how are they paid? Now there's several reasons why you're going to do this. Okay, so one of them. When you start listing these reoccurring payments, you start understanding the minimum amount of money you need to live for the month. Next, you're going to find some of those reoccurring charges you don't need. And I know we have a lot of ed tech people who like a lot of subscriptions to a lot of technology. Which ones aren't you using anymore? Maybe you don't need them. So you can start saving money by canceling those subscriptions you don't need. And also, as you have a list, you're going to realize, oh, there's one I missed. As it hits your credit card and you're like, I need to pay for that. And then you get to decide, do I want to keep it and add it to my recurring list, or do I want to drop it? Also, okay, so this actually happened. When you start monitoring your credit cards more closely and budgeting more closely, you're going to notice a lot more fraudulent charges. And they might not even be fraudulent charges. They could be credit card mistakes. So we get at least 2 of these a year. So we always call the credit card company and they do an investigation and they determine, was it a mistake? In which case we kind of let it go, or was it fraud? If it's fraud, they cancel our credit cards and send us new cards. And every time that happens, I come to this list here and I say, which credit cards do I have to switch? Which credit cards need a new credit card number in it? That way I'm not going to worry about late fees because my credit card doesn't go through, or nasty grams from companies. And the last reason is, have you ever lost your wallet? If you have, well, we got one coming up for you. You can see how helpful this is going to be. Oh, pro tip, same thing. Calendar reminders. You can do calendar reminders or email reminders. Every time you have those once-a-year payments or whatever, go check them out. Too many people spend money they earn to buy things they don't want to impress people they don't like. I think that's actually getting easier as I get older to not do that. But it was not easy in my 20s. No. Oh, name brands. Okay, what's in your wallet? The next tab, I love this one, is make a list of every single card that is in your wallet. Their numbers, their expiration dates, and who you need to call if they go missing. Anyone who has ever had their purse stolen or their wallet stolen knows exactly why I am telling you to do this. You're like, oh my gosh, what cards were in there? What do I do? I don't know what I'm missing. And oh, geez, I've had my wallet stolen once. And I took all the cards in my wallet and I photocopied them. And I had a piece of paper. This was like before all the technology. And I had a piece of paper sitting in my file cabinet. And as soon as that happened, I took those papers out and I started making phone calls. And that gave me such peace of mind. And I don't really use much cash, so I didn't lose much in cash. It was more time and headache. Okay. This is the one that causes the most anxiety. We've downloaded our credit report. We've listed all of our reoccurring payments. So we should have a better idea of these things, but this is the hardest thing, especially if you were in debt. Listing all your debts and their amounts is emotionally one of the hardest things you will ever do if you are in debt. But you can't fix the problem until you know it's there. So I know the anxiety of doing this, but it has to be done. You have to do it. Okay, if you are in debt and your major goal is to get out of debt, Undead is the best free app you could ever use. What you do is you throw all your debts in there and they will give you a list of options for payoff plans. So like some of them are the Dave Ramsey, smallest to biggest. Some of them are the interest rate, highest to lowest. This is an amazing app. You gotta get it if your main goal is to get out of debt. Goals not written down are just wishes. So if we were in the classroom right now, what I would be doing is I would pass out Post-its or note cards to everyone. And I would say, what I need you to do is I need you to list one short-term goal, one midterm goal, and one long-term goal. Now, a short-term goal is like within the year. A midterm goal is maybe somewhere at the end of the year to a couple years, few years. And then a long-term goal could be 5 years, 10 years plus. Now, these goals don't have to be financial. Goal setting has everything to do with our well-being. Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. There's like 25 books out there that just talk about goal setting. So I want you to list a short-term goal, a midterm goal, and a long-term goal. Now, like I said, they don't have to be financial. Maybe you want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 months. Maybe within the year, you want to apply to the Google Innovator Program and get accepted. Maybe you want to plan for a big vacation after COVID. Start planning now, that'd be great. Or maybe you want to get a master's degree. I don't care what they are, but we should always be working towards reaching our goals. You should also start thinking about how you're going to obtain those goals, because you need to take steps to actually obtain them. So maybe you get halfway to a goal and realize you don't want to do that goal anymore. Okay, your life, your choices. Take that one down, replace it, put a new one up. But we should always be working towards things in our lives to improve ourselves. I probably don't have to preach to this crowd because we're pretty goal-oriented people as it is. Okay, so now this one's hard. Now, it doesn't matter what budgeting app you use, what program you use, anytime you budget, you're going to have to figure out your categories. So what do you spend your money on? Now, I've listed a bunch of categories in here that are just, maybe these are your categories, maybe you need more. Maybe you're a scrapbooker and you need a category just for scrapbooking. Put it in there. This is a map of your priorities. But these are really hard because you have to decide. Do you want everything that comes from Walmart to be in the same category? Or do you want to separate it out? Do you want groceries by themselves and then paper goods next to it? Or do you want to put paper goods like paper towels and napkins together? All those decisions, there's no right or wrong answers. It's your budget. You get to decide. But this is probably the section when we started budgeting that changed the most. When I first started budgeting, I detailed everything out. Paper goods were in a category, food was in a category, alcohol was in a category. Snacks, I separated out to see if we were spending too much money on snacks. But after 6 to 8 months of breaking down all those expenses, and it takes a while, so you have to split those receipts, you start to feel, start to get an idea for what you spend, and those categories might be able to be combined together. So it's up to you. It's a headache to list categories. It's just something we got to get through. Okay, so we're going to be using some vocab that we need to have a commonality with, and the first one is sinking fund. We need to qualify our categories with what kind they are. Now, an immediate expense category would be something like your mortgage. You're going to pay it every month. It's pretty much going to be the same amount. But a sinking fund might be for your car insurance. Like I said, I only pay car insurance once a year, but if I waited till June to get 12 months worth of car insurance, that would be a really big hit. So I'm going to do a sinking fund where every month I'm going to put the same amount of money into that fund. And then when my car insurance comes due, I will have the money to pay it. Now that'd be considered almost a fixed expense because I know what I have to pay in car insurance. But something like Christmas would be a sinking fund that didn't have a fixed expense. Like, you know about what you want to spend for Christmas, but you probably want to round up a little bit. So rather than waiting till December and making Christmas an emergency, why not start in January and put a little bit into an account every month? And that way, when Christmas comes, you have the money to spend. And I know some of you guys like to buy Christmas gifts all year round. Or maybe it's not Christmas, maybe it's something else. Maybe you don't celebrate Christmas, but there's something that needs to be planned every year, that comes around every year, that we should be saving for. Also, if you live in a 20-year-old house in a hot climate and you have original air conditioners, it is not a surprise when your air conditioners go out. You need to start thinking about those things before they go out. I see so many people in the middle of July in Vegas. It's 115 outside, and they're like, I had no idea my air conditioner was in such bad condition. It's 20 years old. We need to think about these things. Okay, this is just a slide I added in here for those homeowners out there. A lot of people don't remember when they get a house that houses require maintenance. Did you know you're supposed to put 1% of your home's value away in a sinking fund to pay for upkeep on your home? So if you own a $350,000 home, that's $300 a month. And if you live like in Minnesota, Rick, because of the water and stuff, you need to go up higher. So if your home is older than 25 years and you live in a climate like Minnesota where there's going to be a lot of water and problems like that, you should be putting 4%. That's $1,200 a month, because you know what? Roofs are really expensive. Drain tile is really expensive. When your foundation cracks, it's going to be really expensive. So don't fall for the trick that renting is always worse than buying. That is not the case. Okay, immediate obligations. There are going to be categories and bills that we have to pay right now. True expenses. True expenses are things we refer to as things that are going to be needed. You are going to need a new fridge at some point. So we should probably be putting a little money away for that. Christmas is another one here. Thanksgiving. I'm cooking a big dinner. I don't care if it's COVID. I will cook every single side that there is. I will not skip sweet potatoes just because we are social distancing. So I am going to be spending the same amount of money on Thanksgiving, and we're just going to be eating Thanksgiving dinners for the next 3 months. Wish Farm. Wish Farm are categories we don't have the money to fund now, but we will later. So in my Wish Farm category, I have if we had a bigger house category. So every month I try to put $1,000. I know that's way above. I try to put $1,000 in this if we had a bigger mortgage category to see if we could afford a mortgage that was $1,000 more. And if I make it every month, I have more money to put towards the down payment. And if I don't, then I can't afford that mortgage, and that's not a realistic goal. It's good to have money and the things that money can buy, but it's good too to check up once in a while to make sure you haven't lost the things that money can't buy. Okay, so we're going to start writing budget. Now, I don't know if you guys can see my t-shirt. I am a YNABber. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. And it is the best budgeting app in the world. I'm completely biased, but it doesn't matter what you use. We're actually going to be using an Excel spreadsheet today. Not Excel. Oops, sorry. Total Google faux pas. We're going to be using a Google Sheet today, but we're going to be using the 4 rules of YNAB. You need a budget. By the way, YNAB does have a 34-day free trial, but it's not free software. So if you wanted to go try to find a free budgeting app, that's great. But I would suggest at some point, try it out. But all the work that we're doing right now is going to help us for our 35-day trial to get the most out of it. Also, the reason why YNAB charges is because they have the best customer service in the world. You know how so many companies have chat bots where you can like chat and you're actually talking to a computer? Everybody is like actually there. And by the time you chat with them for a month, you feel like they're your friends and like you want to invite them over for board games and dinner, maybe after COVID. So I totally suggest checking out YNAB, but you don't have to. You don't have to spend anything. The biggest difference between YNAB and every other budgeting software out there is every budgeting software says, what do you think you're going to make for income this month? Let's plan a budget on that. The difference with YNAB is YNAB says, what's the dollar amount you have in your account right now? Those are the only dollars we're going to worry about. So here is, all of these are linked. So you're going to get the slide deck later. Every single one of these is linked. This is some of the budgeting apps out there, and some of them are free and some of them have small fees. But as long as you are budgeting your money, you can use whatever you want to do. I've used most of these. So I've tried EveryDollar, I've tried Mint, I've tried Good Budget, and I've tried Envelopes. And they're good. The only thing reason I like YNAB is because these guys do forecasting. What do you think your income's going to be? Well, that's good and great until you miss a paycheck and then your whole budget falls apart. Okay, so 4 rules. Give every dollar a job. When you get a paycheck, you decide, dollar, your job's to go pay rent, and you put it in the rent category. Hey dollar, you have to pay my car insurance. So you take that dollar and put it in car insurance. Every dollar gets a job, and it does that job. Embrace your 2 expenses. Again, Christmas is not an emergency. It was planned 12 months ago. Roll with the punches. Life is life. It's going to throw you curveballs. You have to be flexible enough to be able to get those curveballs, or your budget's going to completely fall apart and you're not going to be successful. And then age your money. And I'm sure you have no idea what that is. We'll get to it later. Okay. You cannot learn about personal finance without being introduced to the famous Dave Ramsey. He has got a lot to say, and I agree with a lot of what he has to say, and I disagree with a lot of what he has to say. But this is what Dave Ramsey says about credit cards. He is extremely anti-credit card. He says, even with good intentions, most people do not pay off their credit card every month. It's true. He's right. Consumers spend more when using a credit card. He's got data to prove it. It's true. People will spend more money if they're using a credit card. Even with rewards, you spend more on fees and interests. What if you spend on your credit card now, but don't have the ability to pay it when the bill comes in? That one is a serious concern. So this is what I say about credit cards. In all of my infinite wisdom, take it or leave it. When you trust yourself and you spend based on your budget, credit cards have tons of benefits, like not carrying cash. And then here's the other thing. When you save for big goals, like buying a car, and you have 25 grand, it's really hard to spend that money because you worked so hard to save it up. So it's so bittersweet. So if you're living on a budget, that overspending, I don't think it's as much of a problem. Next one, I don't ever pay fees. And I use the Citi Double Points card, and I pay for Christmas every year for my credit card rewards. I don't know what he's talking about. They don't get a cent from me. But I completely agree with his 4th thing. What if you spend money on your credit card now and don't have the ability to pay it off next month? That's what we call the credit card float. Essentially, what the credit card float is if the credit card company called you right this very minute and said, we need you to pay your bill right now. And you'd say, but I haven't got my paycheck yet, so I can't pay it off. Essentially what you're doing, let's say it's November, essentially what you're doing is you're living on December's paycheck. So you really aren't as caught up as you think you are. So in budgeting, we're going to try to move that back. Instead of living on December's paycheck, In November, we're actually going to try to live on October's paycheck. We're going to do what's called getting a month ahead. It's called aging your money. And I got a cute little video here. We're not going to watch it, but we're going to try to age your money so that on the 1st of December, all your bills for December are already paid for. All those buckets you have called categories, they're already filled December 1st. So in December, you're actually paying all your bills based on November's money. That's what we call aging our money or getting a month ahead. Think about how secure you would be if you knew all the bills were handled and then you lost a job. It would still be heartbreaking, but you wouldn't have to worry about how you're going to buy groceries. You would have money all the way through the end of the month, which would buy you some time. And time is the best thing when you don't have an income coming in. Okay, so we're going to do something called Wham or whack-a-mole. So whack-a-mole is this cute little game where you got this hammer and try to hit mole with it. But what we're going to refer to it as is when you overspend in one category and you have to cover it with another category. So we're going to call that whack-a-mole. Okay, so let's do this. If you guys could drop the bit.ly in the chat for making a budget, we're going to get to this. Ooh. All right, so I've got to get this all set up here. Give me a second. Got to get my screens ready. Let's actually budget. Okay, all right. So I got a copy here. I'm going to name it My First Try Monthly Budget. Okay, so if I mess up on this, I got a link right here. We got a new sheet. I'm probably going to go too fast for you guys to follow, but I kind of wanted to give you guys an introduction. I'm going to F11 here, so I got a little more space. So this is going to be November's budget. Now, November is almost over, so I won't need all the spending. And then I'm going to flip over to month B, and this is December. And then we only do 2 months, and then you'll have to start a new sheet. And again, any practice we do here on this Excel spreadsheet, you could always take your knowledge and move it over to a budgeting app. Like, I like budgeting apps, but when you do it yourself on a sheet, you really get to know where your money's going. Okay, so back to month A. Now here, we're going to put our cash accounts. Cash accounts is where you have your cash money. So I have a checking account, and right now I have $1,700 in my checking account. And I have a savings account. Truthfully, I don't even have a savings account. I do everything with my checking account because it's easier. But let's pretend we have $200 in there right now. Now, my $200, that's my emergency fund. I have all my categories over here, but I don't see one for emergency fund. So to manipulate this sheet, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight right here because this is where I want to put it. I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert cells and shift everything down. It's going to give you a warning because anytime you mess with anything with formulas, I programmed it to give you a warning to make sure you don't accidentally delete something. Now, if you come here, you'll see there's formulas here. You can see that up here, but there's not down here. So we're going to have to pull those down. And it's going to warn you every time you do that. Okay, so now I got the formulas in there. So now I can put my emergency fund in there. And I'm going to fund it with my savings money of $200. Now, let's see if I can get this. Okay, so we see the to be budgeted has $1,900 in there. I'm going to put $200 in the emergency fund and watch what happens to the to be budgeted. Oops. It goes down to $1,700. So once you give those dollars a job, his job was emergency fund, it takes it out of the money you have to budget. Okay, so now let's talk about credit cards. I got 2 of them. I got a Citi card and I got a Kohl's card. Don't laugh at me, I'm a mom. My Citi's card had a balance of -$1,200 because I owed $1,200 on it, and my Kohl's card has a -$300. Now, I would really like to get out of credit card debt relatively soon, And I have $1,700 right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this month, I would like to pay off $200. Now let's make it $300. Let's go a little crazy. I want to pay off $300 from my Citi card and $100 from my Kohl's card. You can see that money came off of my to be budgeted. And you can also see over here, available to pay. My account says now when I pay my credit card, I have $300 that I can use to pay off my credit card. And those dollars already have that job, so I don't have to worry about not making my other bills. All right, so let's go through. These are category headers. I don't really need them, so I'm just going to delete those. Yes, I know. Let's go through and start filling our buckets. So my rent, my mortgage. I'm going to go ahead and go through these and list how much I want to budget for each of these. So my mortgage is $750. And my electric is $15. If you're wondering why it's so low, it's because we have solar panels. And my water is $40. And I'm going to keep doing that with every single one. Now, I've done this already. I got it ready. I've practiced my budget a couple times. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste it from another sheet. Oh, I hate when with all that bold stuff. Oops, I didn't undo. There we go. Much better, much better. So I've done that already. And it did take me, setting up my categories takes a while. It really does, because you really have to get to know what you're spending. But now I'm going to go through and I'm going to start filling these buckets. So I'm just going to fill them at what I want to do. And oh my goodness, you can see I went negative. I spent more money than I have. That's bad. So let's go back and let's go erase all those. So what I'm going to do, because I don't have enough money to pay all my bills, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, what do these dollars need to do before I get my next paycheck? My next paycheck comes on the 25th. So I need to make sure any bills coming in right now, I fill. Do you remember on our planning doc when we put the dates they came out? This is where we're going to use that. So it's the 21st right now. If I have anything coming out in the next few days, I have to make sure I have that money set. And my water bill, that's coming due whether I like it or not. My electric bill, that comes out in a couple days. And my internet, that comes out in a couple days. Now, those are the bills that are coming in the next few days. I will be paid on the 25th, but I don't think I could handle doing all $750 for my next paycheck. So I'm going to budget $375 now, and I'll budget the rest when it comes in later. Okay, groceries. It's almost through December, November. So I don't need $800 in groceries, but I do. My fridge is getting kind of low. So I'm going to budget $125. So because that'll cover my next time to the grocery store. Gas, I need to fill my tank, so I'm going to put 50 in there. And then I'm auto maintenance. I have an oil change coming up, but I think I have a couple months, so I'm going to put $25 in there, and then hopefully by the time my oil change comes around, I have enough money. Now I got to go through and I got to make sure the bills that are coming out are covered. Like my student loan, that doesn't come out till later, but I should probably budget like half of it now, so I don't have to get it all later. And let's do the same thing with the auto loan. Vacation, that's going to have to wait. Clothing, I really need a new pair of boots because it's winter. Let's see. Gifts, my mom has a birthday coming up. Church, I have church this weekend, so I have to do some giving. And then I'm going out with my sister tonight, so I need $50 for dining out. And I think I can put the rest in stuff I forgot to budget for just in case. Okay, stuff I forgot to budget for. Now I've given every dollar a job and I'm at zero. So I'm at zero until the next time I get paid. And then once I get paid, I'll do it again. double check to make sure that all the expenses that are coming out in the next few days are covered first. And your main priorities, no matter what, when money is tight, is the roof over your head and the groceries. Your two main concerns in life are keeping your roof and your children fed. Everything else can go. If you can't make a credit card payment, that goes aside. The number two things, roof and groceries. Take care of yourself before you take care of the credit card bill. Okay, so now we've budgeted. What are our transactions going to look like? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Okay, so let's say it's 11/21, that's today, and I'm going to the grocery store and I'm going to spend $75. The description is Smith's. And what account did it come out of? It came out of the checking account. Okay, so let's say I'm using my debit card and the category is groceries. All right, now let's see how the sheet handled that. Oh, look at this. Look at this one right here. $75 out of groceries. I had $125. I spent $75. I have $50 left to spend. So when I go to the grocery store again, I will spend based on what I have available. Also, you see on the checking account, I spent $75. This is now the balance in my checking account. All right, so that's how checking account transactions are handled. Let's see what happens when I use my Citi card. So I just spent $35 at Outback Steakhouse because I went out to dinner with my sister, and I put it on my credit card and it goes under dining out. Okay, so let's see how the sheet handles that, because this is the one that confuses most people. So I have dining out right here. I spent $35. I have $15 left in dining out. But let's see what happened on the Citi card. Oh, activity, $35. And look, available to pay. It added $35 to my ability to pay my credit card, because what it did, it took money from my checking account, because this is money from the checking account, and put it in a little envelope marked Citi card. That way, I am not living on next month's money. I'm setting aside that money right now so I can pay that. Okay, now let's see what happens if I go over a category. So what happened was I was driving and I blew a tire, and you have to get two of them at a time. It's just my little Honda Civic, so it didn't cost too much, but I had to get two new tires, and that was a little bit of an emergency, and I spent $100 in the auto maintenance. Okay, so I spent $100 in auto maintenance, but as you can see here, I only had $25 in auto maintenance, so I'm in the red. That's bad. I have to fix that. I have to call what's called whamming. I have to wham it. I have to borrow money from another category. So let's see, what can I deal with that? Okay, well, I know my auto loan doesn't come out until after I get 2 more paychecks. So I'm going to go ahead and borrow it from my auto loan and add it to my auto maintenance. Okay, perfect. So now I'm not in the red. Everything is good. And now I have $435 to pay my credit card. So let's see how we pay credit cards. So under payments, I'm paying $435 from my checking to my Citi. And let's go see how that handled that. Oh, okay, so now I'm available to pay is 0 because I used all my money. My balance is still going down to $300 I budgeted, so now I only owe $900. My checking account balance is going down, and I'm still meeting all of my expenses, so it's all going very well. So now let's look at how a paycheck would happen, because it's now, let's say it's 11/25. My paycheck came in. I have an inflow of $1,700. Now, paychecks do not need categories, okay? So it does need an account going in my checking, but it doesn't need a category. So what's going to happen is, oh, look at that. inflow, $1,700, and I get $1,700 more to budget with. Yes, I love this game. So now I can go ahead and I can fund my rent. I have to fund my rent because now I won't get paid again until I have to pay rent. So I'm going to go through here, fill up all these categories. I don't need 800, but maybe I need 2 more hundred. So like we'll do 300. Gas, I'll need a little more money. And I can go down and I can start, ooh, home maintenance, can't fund that all. Let's do 50. Insurance, definitely to fund that. Medical, fund that. Clothing, we're good. Gifts, we're good. Ooh, gifts, we probably have another birthday coming up. Giving, I'll probably go to church again. Don't really care about that. Don't really care about that. Student loan, got to fund that. And I just keep playing until I have no more money left, until every dollar has a job. So that's all the basics. And then we roll to the next month. Now, if it happens that you had emergency spending that wasn't covered and you're going to have to adjust that for next month, you will have to do a fresh start. And to do a fresh start, you come up here and you click a new sheet, because the goal is not to spend money we don't have, although life is life and sometimes that happens. So you were not able to Wham. Next month we do a fresh start and we try it again. Now, if everything goes well, you can go to month B. Now you'll see in month B, all of our categories are there, all of our available payments are still there, and we just keep rolling. Just make sure anything from month B goes on to month B, but everything was pulled over. But like I said, if you did have credit card charges you weren't able to cover, you are going to have to go up there and grab a new sheet and start over. And you just keep working on it. And you just spend based on this money, and hopefully we get our finances under order. And after you do this and you figure it out, I would try some budgeting apps because they're pretty cool. Okay, so we've pretty much covered what I need to do, but let's do some final thoughts. What if after months of budgeting, you're still going further into debt? That pretty much means you have more outflow than you have inflow. And there's only 2 real solutions for that. You either need to decrease your spending or you need to increase your income. I know it sounds stupid. Of course you have to do that, Dana, duh. But we really need to start thinking about priorities in our life. If that car payment is not being made, maybe we need to sell it and get a smaller car. With that said, though, I'm making a really big assumption. I'm making the assumption that you are making a livable income. You can't budget your way out of poverty. Poverty is a social construct meant to keep people down. There's a lot of things that cost a lot more money when you are poor. This is my YNAB fan club. I actually asked this woman if I could steal her post, and she says, I've been reading a lot of posts here, and one concept keeps pricking my mind. When you have money, you can make a lot more money and you can save a lot more money, and it's true. It's true. I just read a post about someone putting money aside to buy a car with cash instead of a car payment. Having that money up front will save you a ton in interest. If you can keep a healthy balance in your checking account, you can save the monthly fee and you won't pay overdraft charges. If you can pay your car insurance every 6 months instead of every month, you can save money on the processing fee. If you have money, you can take advantage of offers like buying gift cards for haircuts where you get one free. If you put 20% down on a house, you don't have to pay PMI. The conversation is also true when you don't have money, you end up losing money. And she continues on about credit card fees and interest fees and overdraft fees. These are all poor tax. A lot of them call them ghetto tax. Things that people pay because they have less money. So while we're doing all this, I just wanted to impress upon you, budgeting will not save the world, but it might save your finances. And I think everybody should have a budget. So I am going to end on one final note with Susie Orman, who I adore her. I'm actually reading her 50 plus retirement book right now. It's fantastic. Even though I'm not 50 plus, I want to get ahead of the game. She says, people first, then money, then things. So I've got two links for you guys, one to the feedback form here, and then one to the slide deck so you can have all these resources, because I linked it up like crazy, all the resources I have. But that kind of concludes. I hope you guys learned something about budgeting and finance, because I love budgeting and finance. It is my passion project. Next, Stacy is going to do a project on cycling using an ed tech tool. What do you think, Stace? You're on mute. Beginner error.
I've been told that I need to do my passion project, so I've already started. But yay, good job! This has been amazing, Dana. So many, everybody, the chat was just loving it, and people sharing things out, and so excited about your just posting your amazing slide deck. It's fantastic, and I matched your Bitmoji today with my pink sweater.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad I finally got to share my passions, and I hope even if you didn't get everything from it, just taking, even if it's just the goal setting, even if you just learned today to write down a goal, I think we'll be better off.
And amazing resources. I love that you linked all those out. That's fantastic. So
Thank
a lot
you.
of pre-made things that are going to really help people. I like it.
Excellent. Wonderful. Rick,
Yeah.
what budgeting app are you going to try?
Say again?
What budgeting app are you going to try?
Oh, none of them. I don't budget things. But all of this sounds great for people who plan ahead. I don't do that. But no, this is good for people.
Oh, good. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for joining. I had a great time.
Yay, fantastic.